You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
It's Wednesdays with Keegan Matheson. Keegs, we were talking before we hit the record button here about ChatGPT. Is it being used in Major League Baseball? Or are these guys like putting in any ChatGPT questions that you know of to get to Super Google to answer them for them?
Probably. I mean, it's got to be in those fancy databases they have building now. Hopefully it stays there and doesn't come try to take my job. But, I'll need to mix in a few typos here and there just to make sure you know that my stories are by a human. But, teams absolutely. They must be using many of the various forms of artificial intelligence, despite all of the human intelligence they employ and give complicated job titles to. But, scary new world.
It is scary because of I'm openly using it more than Google. Actually, I don't even use Google anymore. And I had some dryness on my scalp, and I asked them all some remedies, and I followed its lead, and I put honey in my hair.
Wow.
And it actually worked. And I'm like, so what is it suggesting to people? And they're like, okay, it told me to do it.
That could have backfired. There's going to be some great Netflix documentaries in like 3 or 4 years of the computer told me to do it. And
well, they already have people marrying their the ChatGPT and the AI.
Those used to just be movies, but all the power to them, I guess. I guess if you're happy, I'm happy. I don't know.
Well, I should ask ChatGPT, why do the Jays lose against bad teams and beat good teams? And whenever I see that happen, I always think of nursing homes, because if you have a senior in your life and you've seen them before they go into a nursing home and after, you're like, whoa, they're playing to the level of as soon as they enter that nursing home, they age 30 years because that's the level of the competition. So can you explain why that happens to the Blue Jays?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. It's not a good thing. I think back, Dan, to earlier in June, that series against the A's, I think where they swept in 4 games. That's what it's supposed to look like. And that was the Blue Jays playing their best version of baseball. But sometimes you can get sucked into the other team's brand, and that's not what you want. And we've seen that a little too much lately with the Blue Jays when they're playing lesser teams. They've played pretty well against a challenging stretch of schedule. Going back through that recent road trip, except for Philly, I guess, but they have played up, and they've played well against tough competition. Another big one coming against the Yankees, actually, in a week. That's a huge series. But you need to win the games that you are supposed to win. And games like that are freebies. Go back 3-4 years. Those were your 19 games a season against the Orioles. Back when the O's were really bad and you played them a ton. You needed to win 75% of those. The Jays need to take the freebies along the way because they've got a tough schedule. I think the AL East will get a little tougher as the year goes on and who they see, and they've got a couple Yankees coming up too, so it's going to be tougher.
Well, so that's the bad news out of the way. Now it's nothing but good news, because when they stumbled against the White Sox, they did not lose any ground, and then the bats explode against Cleveland, so it's an instant mind eraser when you have an outburst like they had against the Guardians, including a George Springer grand slam.
And they're only 2.5 back of the Yankees still in the East here. It's getting that season where I need to know that number every day, I guess, now. But it's been interesting to see this division kind of sticking together. The Rays, I feel like I haven't heard a thing about the Rays all year, and they're right there. They're right in between the Blue Jays and Yankees.
They're there every year. Every year they're there.
I have not heard any incredible thing they've done. I have not heard about standout performances. I know the Rays do not make national news very much, but it just hasn't come up a lot, and they're there. So being able to stay in this race is crucial because, Dan, we've talked about this. I think they need to be thinking division. The wild card, it's nice that everyone gets to come in and play playoff games, but a best 2 out of 3 series is not it. It's not what the goal can be. Because if you have one bad game, if your starter has a bad sleep, a cranky neck, makes a bad pitch, you're toast. So after 162 games, too, I mean, it's painful. you need to at least chase a division series if you're the Blue Jays. And the Yankees are right there, man. And it's going to be interesting if they stay tied to the Yankees, because we all know that New York is going to go out and spend at the trade deadline. They have no problem doing that every single year. The Jays are going to be pitted against the big boys this year, not just wild card teams who they're trying to duke it out with, Cleveland and markets like that, but the legitimate big hitters in baseball. They're going to be going up against them.
It was interesting on the broadcast of that Guardians game, in which the Blue Jays had a 6-1 lead, then it dwindled to 6-4, and to hear the broadcast crew, without openly saying it, have zero confidence in the bullpen, because they still had a 2-run lead, and they're like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't good. Things are tense here, and then Springer hits the grand slam and busts it wide open. But does everyone around the team have that same feeling about the Jays bullpen right now?
You have to right now, honestly. Chad Green is allowing a home run every time he steps on the mound, it feels like. Yep. And it's a strange season for him. Man, he's making a good dollar this year, so I don't think it's something that they're too quick trigger with, but it's getting to that point. And Jeff Hoffman, in the closer's role, it has not been working lately. I'm still a big believer in Jeff Hoffman. I know John Schneider is. We saw him in April, how good he can be. And it's not like he has suddenly lost his velocity. He's not throwing 89 now. There's just something a little bit off. And it matters. It's not just bad luck. It matters what's happening. And he needs to get that back. They need to get Jimmy Garcia back. Probably a week from today, he's back, I would say. That'll help a lot. But, man, if it was not for Yariel Rodriguez, I don't know where this bullpen would be. And I did not expect to be saying that coming into the year. He has been incredible on the back end and has been one of their better stories, one of the 2 or 3 better stories of this season, because this bullpen has been forced to piece it together. And right now it looks like something they need to add very obviously at the trade deadline.
And Max Scherzer makes his return tonight, and this is almost a bullpen game because they aren't going to throw him out there for very long from what I'm reading, and they don't want to test the injury. And I assume every single pitch that he throws, it's going to be pins and needles for everyone.
Yeah, he's not out of the woods yet on this, and that's not me being doom and gloom. It's just what Max keeps saying, that he needs to see how he bounces back in a game when you have big league adrenaline, and how you recover from start to start. If he goes through the next 3 or 4 starts, then it's okay. Then you're good. But right now, it's still an active issue for him. And he did feel a bit of soreness coming out of his last start. The Blue Jays called that like expected normal soreness, but still, it's not out of the woods. And I would expect tonight maybe 80, 85 pitches from Max Scherzer. But you're right, Dan. Like going in to the dugout in between each inning, people are going to have their eyes on him. And how he's reacting. Is he looking down at the thumb? Is he flexing it in between pitches? This is not a normal rehab where a guy is healthy and then just comes back. He's still battling this a little bit. And we don't know how it'll go, but he only has so many bullets left, and there's only 3 months left in the season, so you might as well try it at the big league level and hope this works.
Now, when we discussed his thumb injury, I told you how I was dealing with the same thumb injury, not on my throwing arm, not on my throwing hand, and mine's arthritis related. So I went to the health food store here in my little town, and Karen, who works there, said, well, all the old farmers, they swear by this stuff. She gave me these horse pills, take 2 a day, and I've been taking them for 2 weeks, and guess what? It's working. So
are you craving
the
hay?
Blue Jays need some medical advice for Max Scherzer, I got the pills, and they're just available 3 doors down from me.
I'll just really make sure that Max Scherzer checks that against the MLB banned substances list.
So, yeah, it's probably every farmer in our region is like, they're giving us steroids, and they're just a bunch of jacked farmers around
Everyone's
here.
living to 108. And
we don't understand it, but give me more of those pills. Give me more of those pills. The Jays did have a roster move. Erik Swanson's gone.
That's tough. Swanson, he was so good a couple of years ago, and I know that people dump on that trade for Teoscar a ton. That was only for a year of Teoscar. I think people framed that as if it was 5 years of Teo. And the Blue Jays did get back Adam Macko, who we could see in the big league soon. So that trade is not done yet, I don't think. But still, tough one for Swanson, man. And this is what happens when a reliever is forced to fight their body. Honestly, the last 2 years, he's been chasing and chasing and chasing. When Swanson is healthy, he's a legitimate eighth-inning guy in Major League Baseball. But he's been forced to battle his elbow and his forearm. And it's always tough around this age. When I see a reliever who broke out a little later, I want them to get to those years where they're making some of the bigger money. And it's always right around this time where they run into problems, run into issues. So I hope Swanson can bounce back somewhere, man. I'll be, wherever he lands, I'll be hoping the best for him. But that one didn't work out. I thought he'd be a huge piece for this bullpen, but injuries, man.
Yeah, and considering the problems they're having in the bullpen, did you think they would have given him a longer leash, or was it time?
I think it was time now, because when you looked at the numbers behind his pitches, they were not moving like they were last year. They weren't as crisp as they were last year. And for Swanson making around $3 million, compare that to Chad Green making 10 or 10.5, probably a little bit of a different bar they are held to at that point. But $3 million, I don't think was enough to get in the Blue Jays' way. You're halfway through the year anyways, prorated. It's not a ton. I say of, $1.5 million, but it's, I think you could see below the surface some of the warning signs as well. And his last outing was a rough one. So it's unfortunate timing, but he'll latch on somewhere though. Absolutely.
If you watch the Jays and Guardians on Tuesday night, you noticed one thing happening in Cleveland. It is the bane of my existence, and I've now pieced it all together. When they have bark at the park at Major League ballparks, they aren't doing it for the dogs. They're doing it for the TV visuals.
Absolutely. They
are 1,000% saying, hey, we want eyeballs in the highlight packs around the sports networks. We're going to get them because we're going to have bark at the park. And we saw 900 shots of dogs during that game.
A lot of dogs. And I didn't mind the, smaller dog. I'm a smaller dog guy, man. I don't want this 100-pound animal climbing over my furniture and ruining it, And we saw the smaller ones who would be, up in a seat looking normal. But then you would see this big basset hound of a dog slobbering all over a bunch of seats, panting in the heat. I don't know if they're having much fun.
They can't be. They're like, what is going on here? What are we doing here?
But, man, it's my prayers are with the cleaning staff of Progressive Field after that, I guess. But it's hopefully not too messy.
Taking humans to a game is a pain in the ass. Taking a four-legged creature with you, you couldn't pay me to go through that process with a dog.
No, thank you. You're trying to walk the dog along the concourse. There's other dogs. People are coming over to you. That's the thing they don't tell you about dogs. You invite so many unwanted conversations. My God. What's its name? How old is she? Oh, my God, look. And, yeah. I mean, some people who are maybe less cranky than me would welcome those conversations. But at a ball game, oh, my God, anybody within 20 sections of you is over looking at your dog. And it's too hot yesterday, man. It's some of those dogs looked like they were not enjoying their time.
Bring the dog night to the Jays when they have the loony hot dogs, and then that count will really go up. The New York Yankees. Every time I look and check the standings, I'm like, and this is at least we're going on over 2 weeks now. Every time I look, I'm like, holy crap, they still haven't figured it out. Is something wrong with this Yankees team?
I feel like they're a very good but not great team. They're not at that level of the Dodgers. They're not playing up to the record, at least, of the Tigers, which is amazing to say. The Tigers have been fantastic, but I feel the same way about this Yankees team as I have the last few, honestly. Not even quite to last year's level. But they've been very good teams with very high payrolls, but they don't feel like they have that dominant greatness to them. And right now they look like a better team than the Jays. They sure were last year, and they may very well be this year. But I think that they are kind of ripe for the picking right now in the AL East. And the Yankees always seem to have a long injured list. They're dealing with a lot there. And a lot of their early starts, like Paul Goldschmidt's a good example. He started out incredibly well for, I think, a 37, 38-year-old player. Now he's falling off. So you're seeing some of those early performances fade a little bit. Doing this without Garrett Cole is not easy either. They'll go out and add big. Of course they will. But they're not scary. I don't mean that to say that they're not a threat whatsoever, but they're not the mighty, scary, doom and gloom Yankees right now. It's doable. They are human. They're mortal this year. And that's where this gets exciting for the Blue Jays, man. The Yankees are good, but they're not going to run away and crush this division this year, I think. Even if the Yankees win this, I think it's a pretty tight race, whether that's the Jays or the Rays down the stretch. But they're not the superpower this year, and it would take a lot for them to get to that, I think, because without Aaron Judge playing like God right now, it looks a lot different for them.
I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but speaking of Yankees and a former Yankee, Joey Gallo. Last I heard, he was going to try be a pitcher. Is that still happening?
Let's see if he's actually appeared in any games.
I'm looking at it up too. I kind of loved
that.
Is he still with the Yankees organization?
I don't think he signed with the Yankees to do it, so he hasn't appeared in any games this
March
year.
was the last time we had an article. Nothing has been written about him since.
I can't imagine it's going well. But I used to like Joey Gallo as a player. Yes, he was limited, but I like a platoon masher type of guy. He's only 31, too.
Who's our Canadian that went from... Because we had a Canadian that went from, I think, a pitcher to an outfielder, didn't he?
There was.
Adam Lowen?
Yes, yeah. And talented one, too, man. Holy. But you don't see that very often, especially in the days of, like, specialized pitching. You go back to the 70s and 80s when guys were not throwing 94-mile-an-hour sliders. A little easier. But today... My goodness. I'll take the under on Joey Gallo's career MLB innings as a pitcher, but we'll see.
But we do know the one Blue Jay on the roster right now who could make that move. Addison Barger.
The strongest man in baseball.
And you're the strongest man in sports media coverage. Keegan, thank you.
You got it, Dan.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.